Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 75. My name is Victor Vasquez. Appreciate you joining me on another movie discussion. Super excited for this week's episode, not only because of the movie, but because, again, every fifth episode we have a special guest. We have Omar Vasquez, a.k.a. Mr. Rome, a.k.a. the guy that, Mr. Discipline. I'm trying to think of other things off the top of my head, but...
Well, for the record... Nobody's ever called me that before.
I know. I want to start.
Okay. Starting today.
Yeah. Omar, thanks so much for joining us again, man.
Thank you.
Again, we're super excited. On this week's episode, me and Omar are going to be talking about the Bikeriders. It stars Jodie Comer. It has Tom Hardy and Austin Butler. Me and Omar saw a lot of different trailers for this one. Mm-hmm. It was actually, maybe, at least I don't know what you think about this, but like last year in 2023, we saw a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. That trailer was on every single movie. And I kind of felt like the Bikeriders was one that kind of came out here and there, but we always enjoyed the trailers. We always enjoyed the quotes.
Yeah, look, top three trailers this year.
Nice.
Would you agree?
I would agree, yeah.
I'd probably put number one, actually.
Yeah. To me, I would put Furiosa. I know people didn't really like that trailer, but I actually really liked Furiosa trailer. Everybody thought it was like a lot of CG, that it didn't really tell them a lot about the movie, but
yeah,
it hyped me up. But this one, I think I gave it a 2, because every time I saw it, it excited me.
Good laugh.
It made me laugh a lot. Oh, man. But so, guys, we're going to be talking about that. I think this is a perfect segue, Mr. Ohm. Let's go ahead and dive in to overall thoughts. Again, this will kind of be like a little non-spoiler section. And then after we talk about our pros and cons, that's when we'll dive into a lot of more spoilers about the movie. So, overall, after I left the theater watching it with Omar in regards to the Bikeriders, I can say that I thought this movie was great. It had a lot of great elements that I just didn't really expect that this movie would have. Just to kind of kick things off, the first thing that got me hooked to the movie was the trailer, but also the actors that were in there. I was so curious how Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, and Tom Hardy were going to interact, how their characters were going to interact, like how their conversations would go. And so just having those three actors, I think, like, really excited me about how they were going to really act within the film and what their characters were going to be. Other things that really, what I enjoyed about the movie is that it revolved around a motorcycle club. So just to kind of give everybody a overall synopsis, the Bikeriders basically follows a gang or a bicycle club in maybe the 1960s to 1970s.
Well, not a bicycle.
No, not a bicycle, a motorcycle. Good catch. So like a motorcycle gang in Chicago, in the Midwest region. And it basically shows them like their rise and eventually their fall that club.
During the 60s, early 70s.
And so that's basically the whole premise of the movie. You're just seeing how the club was initiated, the members that join it, and all the things that end up occurring for that specific group. One thing, Omar, that I really enjoyed, that's again non-spoiler, is the characters and the people that are a part of that group. Everybody's so unique. Everybody's so wacky. Everybody has like this either a distinct name or something unique about their personality that just stands out. And I think that's what I appreciated the most, is that there's not one character that's very similar to the other. Like you have Tom Hardy's character, who he plays Johnny, who again is like, again, that leader. He wants to have this group. And then you have the cool, suave guy of Austin Butler, who I think, to me, after watching him in this movie, he's probably one of the coolest, like, such a chill, but like...
Cool guy.
Like that. It's amazing how he plays that character very well.
Yeah. He plays that character perfectly. Yeah. Also, like you're talking about these like eccentric characters, right? Michael Shannon. Yes. That was one of the best parts of the movie.
He was the best part.
And I like him in every movie. Every movie he's in, he's good.
You had Norman Reedus. I didn't even recognize him until later on, and I was like, is that Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead?
And I don't want to get into like spoilers.
Yeah.
Not spoilers for the movie, spoilers for this podcast.
Yes.
Because you know you talk about favorite performers
That's
later.
That's right.
I don't want to spoil anything, but Norman Reedus, I did feel like at one point was stealing the show a little bit. Even though he didn't get too many scenes, his performance was really good.
When he was there, he made every scene count. So I totally...
I just kind of smiled every time he was on scene. He was on camera.
Totally feel that. So again, I think the wackiness of these characters, the way every club member just felt very, unique. Guys named Cockroaches, like a guy named different types of name, Quirky. Mm-hmm. It was just all very weird. But I think it added to making this movie feel very real. And I always appreciate that. When a movie can make me, kind of take me out of my world and kind of put me in this different world that like, oh man, this feels so realistic. It feels authentic, and that's kind of what I really appreciated about it. One other thing I gotta call out, Mr. Rome, this might almost kind of be a pro, but the set design and the way that they were dressed and the way that they kind of made this environment in the Midwest, it made you, again, feel like you were actually in the 60s and 70s. Like, this is an exact kind of a feeling of like, yeah, these are the cars that they would drive, the motorcycles. Again, I'm not a motorcycle guy, I'm not a car guy, but I would assume that cool. It looks exactly like how they probably would ride. So all that stuff I really enjoyed. Overall, it was such a good watch and a good experience for me. Mr. Roman, anything else to add on the overall thoughts? If not, we can definitely move on to pros as well.
I say you move on.
Let's do it. Omar, I'll pass it off to you. As the guest, the Bikeriders, what were your pros of the film?
Well, I kind of I'll start with how they were dressed, because you brought that up right now. Like the costume design. Did you notice when that new club of those like young kids, or that one guy had like a troubled home life?
Yep.
Did you notice like when he first wanted to talk to Johnny, and they met him at this like get together at this park? Did you know how you see how they were dressed, and then compared to how the Vandals were dressed? And the Vandals is the name of the club.
Yep.
Johnny's club. The difference between how they were dressed was noticeable, right?
Yep.
Like the young kid probably had like one leather jacket, and it just looked like street clothes, or like it looked raggedy. And Johnny's club, as soon as you see one of the members walk up, you know that's the Vandals, because they just look. It kind of looks like how somebody in the military would look. That's higher up. Yeah. They just have more stuff on them, more patches.
Yeah.
And I like how you could tell right away the difference between like where this club is and where the new guys are.
Yeah. I like that.
That's cool.
I like that. To feed off of that kind of feeds into one of my pros, like not like the set design of like that, but what you just described, the kid and his younger group and how they evolved throughout the movie. That was, I think, one of my favorite parts is what I wrote down was like, after I watched it, and actually I think the kid actually has no name. I think he literally is just the kid. I don't think they ever call him a specific name. The actor is Toby Wallace, but I thought him and his young friends did such a good job. They basically start their story where they are stealing rims from cars, and the first thing the kid sees is Tom Hardy's character Johnny going down the street with his motorcycle gang, and I just love that it starts from there. And it basically ends with the kid doing something to Johnny at the end of the movie, to try to take ownership of the Vandals.
Right.
I just loved their whole interaction every time they showed this kid and the group. Like the way that, again, like Omar described, what they were wearing at the beginning, raggedy clothes. They were obviously from a poor side of the city. And so everything was very different and then they start kind of leading up until he ends up kind of taking ownership of the Vandals. Yeah. And you just see him grow up right in front of our eyes. And he just comes out in separate scenes, separate interactions with Johnny, and every time you see him, he looks older and older and older, and I'm like, oh man, like that whole aspect of it, to Omar's point, the way that they dressed and how they just evolved, I enjoyed that so much.
Yeah, me too. That was like, that's basically the story.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like these new guys coming in and changing everything.
Yep. And
it wasn't even just them. We see it. Well, I guess this is a pro too. The story itself. Mm-hmm. This bike gang, it's not even a gang. It's more of a club. These guys are misfits, they don't belong anywhere.
Exactly.
Like Michael Shannon's character wanted to be in the military, and not even the military would accept him.
Yeah.
And so Johnny created this club for like
misfits.
Yeah. So they could have somebody. Mm-hmm. And as the story progresses, there's like certain
like almost milestones or things that they get hit on, like where you're like, okay,
where stuff becomes worse. Like something happens to Austin Butler's character and it makes Johnny kind of get a little more evil, maybe.
Yeah.
And certain milestones start turning the club into a point where it's not a club anymore. It's a full-on gang. Yeah. And the person leading the gang is this new kid. It's like the new generation is like
taking over.
Yeah. I love that
that kind of aspect of story, right? Like that, where you kind of see like what something was established and how it started, and then seeing how it eventually evolves and gets out of control.
It reminds me of like the game Telephone, where you start with something and then it spreads. You're gonna say that or what?
No, that's a great analogy though.
It spreads, and when it comes back to the original person, it's nothing how it started. And that's exactly what happened in the movie. Yeah. The Vandals were the first bike club, so Tom Hardy's club was the first one in Chicago, and then as the movie progresses, other cities find out about this club, and they want to start expanding. And what happens with this is the club gets construed.
Yeah.
Like the game Telephone.
Yep.
And so by the time it comes back with the new kid, it's a completely different...
It's a different experience now.
Yeah.
Remember those picnics that we had? Like the first picnic was like very nice. Only like the true initial members. And then by the end, these picnics where these guys, they start smoke. There's more people smoking. There's more people doing like different types of drugs. Mm-hmm. People beating up other members of the same group. And I'm like, because they want to like turn in their colors. I'm like, so it's just crazy the evolution and how, and it almost like represents real life. I don't know if you see this, like how a good thing can get out of control when it becomes too big, right?
Yeah.
When the bubble just keeps going and going and going, and how far can this go until it eventually is going to burst and something evolves into something that's just out of control of what the original vision was.
You said it perfectly.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. That's a great point. I love the telephone analogy. That's such a great call out too. Mr. Rome, another pro that I want to throw out for you. Mm-hmm. This is how I kind of viewed the film. Omar called it out. The story was amazing. To me, I thought another reason of why the story was so great is because the movie, to me, felt like it was almost filmed like a documentary.
Yeah.
Because there was the character, Mike Faced. He's the actor. He plays Danny. He's basically, from the start, taking pictures, interviewing Kathy, who's played by Jodie Comer, and interviews all these motorcycle guys in the gang that is with Johnny, in the Vandals. And he basically interviews them and asks them questions like, why do you do the things you do? He talks to Michael Shannon's character. He talks to every single character, and he tries to get a feeling and get a vibe as to, here's what this... Because again, that concept of bike riders or a motorcycle gang was very new.
It's new.
And so nobody really understood. And this story, actually, this film, The Bikeriders, is based off of a book. And so I love that it was like almost like a documentary style. And I think to me, because it was filmed almost in that sense of a documentary and you saw people getting interviewed, it made me feel like the film was more grounded and even more realistic and more authentic, because these characters, again, Michael Shannon's character, he ended up playing, I guess the character's name, Zipko. When he started explaining about how he wasn't allowed to be in the military, you felt for him too. And you're like, man, like this sucks. Or like what every other character was facing, like it just made you feel like that every single character has their own world and everybody's dealing with something. But when they're together, writing, nothing else matters like that. We're all together in this. We're all in this for whatever the purposes of the group are. So again, to me, Omar, that documentary style, I think what made me appreciate it more. And again, it also makes it show that like you obviously know that they're just actors. They're not real bike riders. But when you watch it in this documentary style, it feels like they actually are in this gang with the Vandals. And so I love that.
And to add on that too, because I like that too, and I also like, since it's like documentary style, I like the multiple timelines.
Yes.
There's a journalist is interviewing Kathy probably the entire movie. Yeah. But at different time periods. Mm-hmm. He's interviewing her in 1965, and she's talking about the initiation up until 1965, and then there's another time jump, but going on simultaneously. Yeah. In 1973, where Kathy's saying what's happened between 1965 and 1973, and it's kind of happening at the same time. Yeah. I really like that. That was really cool.
It was, and it didn't make it confusing. Yeah, you understood exactly kind of like, even the one that like Omar described, the simultaneous time jumps or like the time skips that you're seeing, it all makes sense like that. Like nothing was ever confusing as to like, hold on, like what's going on? And that I think goes part into like the set design, how their hair and styles were like that throughout the film. It made sense to me. So that's a good call out. Mr. Rome, any other pros on your side? Like I think again you called out in regards to just like the overall story, like the design of the film and what they were wearing. Anything else on that you want to call out?
I really liked, I guess, the writing. I hate when movies, they kind of like overwrite, overtalk. I don't like characters that talk a lot, or like they have to comment on every single thing, or they can't be like too much empty space like that. Like they have to be talking, or they have to say exactly what they're thinking. Yeah, dude, I love that this movie doesn't. Characters, a lot of the times, don't say but it's almost like a real conversation when you're talking to somebody. They're not always going to say exactly what they mean, but you kind of have to see it in their body language. Exactly. And almost look at what they don't say to see what they mean.
That kind of paints the picture as like, okay, they said this, but like, look how their body language is. That probably tells you the other side of the story, or like what's deep inside too, of what they're thinking.
Like two scenes that I could think of like right now where I really, really, really liked was when they're with like the bunch of the new members are there, and they're in this like really broken down house partying. A couple of new members, they take Kathy away against her will.
Yes.
And so she's like freaking out, and Johnny comes in and saves her. She doesn't say one word to Johnny.
Yeah, that's a good call.
It's just complete looks, and with her looks, you know exactly what she's thinking, because like Johnny earlier in the movie, he told Kathy, like, you're gonna be all right. Nothing's gonna happen to you.
You're protected.
You're protected, and it was true up until the gang started becoming something different. And at that point, Kathy looked at Johnny, and just with her looks, you knew she was saying, "Johnny, you're supposed to. You told me you're gonna protect me, and look what happened. You caused this."
Yeah.
And all without saying one word. Oh, dude, I love that. I feel like characters don't have to talk a lot. You know, you could just. And the same thing with Johnny when right before he was like the climax of the movie.
Yeah.
He went to go visit Kathy.
Yeah.
But to see if Austin Butler, Austin Butler's character was there, and Kathy kept asking like, "No, he's not here. Like, but what do you want?" And he wouldn't say anything. He'd just be like, "No, nothing. That's it. I just wanted to check he was there." But you knew what he actually meant.
Yeah.
Dude,
that's great.
That's cool.
That's a great pro, man. I love that, and especially that scene where like they try to take Kathy and like try to like in some way like hurt her. Like you said, you don't need to know or need to hear dialogue from a character to understand like the terror that it's in their eyes, or like the way that they're like breathing, to understand like something was about to go down, that you just knew that there was going to be some type of consequences. And so I like that, man. That's a great call out, Mr. Rome. I think the only other pro that I have that I want to call out is the love triangle between Benny, Austin Butler's character, Jodie Comer as Kathy, and then you have Tom Hardy as Johnny. Now, when I say love triangle, people usually think, okay, yeah, it's these two guys fighting for this one girl. What I love most is that it is not that at all. It puts it on its head, where the love triangle is actually between Johnny and Kathy competing for Benny. And it's not even like just for like his love in that certain way. Kathy is doing it from the love of like, I just don't want you to be in this club to hurt yourself, to one day just not come back to me. And then you have Johnny, who loves Benny so much, who sees Benny as like the true bike rider, and he wants Benny to take over the club.
True free spirit.
Exactly. And that love triangle was so cool. And you eventually get to the point in the third act where you see Kathy and Johnny butt heads about, I don't want Benny in this club. And then he's like, and then, you know, Johnny just saying like, is that all you got to say? Are you done? Like that? Like it just, you know, just not even like addressing anything like that, and just making that scene so tension filled. I loved it. But I don't know, again, Omar, I don't know if you agree like that, but that whole triangle, I think, aspect was so cool. Again, just seeing it from a different way like that, because you normally always have, okay, two guys fighting for one girl, or two girls fighting for one guy. In this one, it's just opposite. They're both fighting for the same person, for the same love, but it's a different type, right? Like, it's something that each one cares so much about Benny, but in a different way.
Yeah, I did really like that. That was really, like, one of my pros, too. How Tom Hardy viewed Benny.
Yeah.
Because Tom Hardy is the leader of the club, and everybody respects him, and everybody looks up to him, and everybody looks to him for like the decisions. Everybody looks up to Tom Hardy, but he's seeing Benny as like better than him, or he wants to be Benny.
Exactly.
And yeah, that was a really good love triangle. It really was a love triangle.
Yeah. It's just so like, it's so unique like that, and like how Omar described it. Out of everybody in the club, Tom Hardy respected Benny the most like that. Like he, again, like Omar said, he almost looked up to him because he's like, I wish I could be a free spirit like him.
He was looking up to Benny.
Yeah, without Benny even realizing it. Benny was just like, being himself.
And Tom Hardy's like he's supposed to be, he's the older one. He's the one with more experience. They're supposed to be looking up to him.
Love it. Those are some of the pros. Mr. Rome, any other pro that you want to throw out there? Anything else that comes to your mind?
Probably everything. That's all I had.
Cool. I think this is a good chance to kind of talk a little bit about our cons, if there were any. I can kick things off. This is more of a nitpick, not like a big con that turned me away from the movie. Only nitpick that I had was there was a scene in regards to Cockroach where he basically wants to turn in his colors. What that represents for the motorcycle gang is that you just don't want to be a part of the gang anymore. You want to move away from it and then start either different life, get a job. In this story, Cockroach basically tells Johnny that he doesn't want to be a part of the gang. He wants to move away. He wants to be a motorcycle cop. And so what ends up happening is in the film, Johnny and Benny go to his house and they end up, Johnny ends up shooting him in the leg, and then tells him, "All right, go ahead, feel free to take off." I was a little confused the purpose of him shooting him in the leg. I think in my interpretation, in my mind when I watched it, and the more I think about it, is it because that's the consequence of leaving the club? I just didn't really understand why he shot him in the leg. Like and again, in my head, it seemed like it was, okay, hey, I'll let you leave, but here are the consequences for leaving like that because you're a big part of this vandal club. You know everything about our group. And so, yeah, here's your kind of like going away kind of gift, is getting shot in the leg. I didn't know really what that was supposed to represent. Why didn't he just let him go? Just wanted to throw that to you, Mr. I don't know if you picked up on that, if that made more sense to you. And it definitely went over my head. Again, I don't know if that kind of made sense to me. But again, not a big con. Just something that I kind of noticed after I watched the movie. I was like, oh, okay. Like, so, but why did he get shot in the leg if he was just going to let him go anyway? So, yeah.
When that happened, I thought Johnny was doing that to make it look like it was a breaking and entering at his house and somebody tried to kill him.
Oh.
Because the new members, if they found out that Cockroach was quitting, they would want to kill him.
Oh, that's right. And that was at the broken down house outside when they beat him up. That's right.
I feel like Johnny did that to make it look like they did try to kill him, but he got away and escaped.
That makes sense.
That's how I saw it. I don't know if that's actually what they intended in the movie.
That makes logical sense in my head. Like that, I was just so I was like, okay, well, if he's gonna let him go, why shoot him in the leg like that? Like he already had a messed up arm, and I was like, so like, again, it just kind of maybe went past my mind. How Omar explained it makes sense. If he just wanted to show the rest of the group, like, hey, they tried to get him, but he's gone. We don't know where he is. Because
he shot down his door with a shotgun.
That's right.
I guess to
and
make
so
it look like
somebody
broke in.
And Cockroach kind of already knew because he was already sitting down.
Already waiting. And then afterwards, Johnny was like, we took care of him or something like that. All right, I took care of you. As in, like, we took care of you because if we didn't do this to you, the other members were gonna kill you.
That's a good point.
That's how I interpreted it.
I like that. I'll use that as my idea for my
mind space.
Yeah, my headcanon for this movie. Again, small nitpick, nothing that like really deters my experience from the movie. Mr. Rome, I'll throw it to you. Any cons, any nitpicks that you can kind of think of the Bikeriders?
Dude, I actually didn't have any, and I wanted to find some.
Yeah,
I was thinking the past couple of days. I was trying to find something negative to say. I couldn't find. I actually don't have any cons.
Yeah,
my only con is not even with the movie. It's with the trailer.
The trailer.
Yeah,
even though you said it was number one.
It's because the trailer kind of portrays this as like the way the trailer kind of made it look like Tom Hardy's club was like a gang, and they're gonna be causing a lot of trouble this movie.
Yeah,
and they're gonna be like criminals. I guess that could be a con because you could be going into the movie expecting a different type of movie.
True.
Because his gang, as we said earlier, it wasn't even the gang in the beginning.
No.
It was... Oh, this is another pro I forgot.
Perfect.
It was funny in the beginning. There was a lot of funny scenes.
You actually just reminded me of... Yeah, I was going to say, that was probably another pro that I forgot to say is... I think the trailer does a great job of letting you know that this is going to be a funny movie, though.
But at one point, I thought it was going to be a comedy. Because it was a lot of jokes, and they were all funny. I thought the whole movie was going to be, like, unserious. I was like... Oh, damn, everything is going to be actually a joke. And then that makes the story even better because once things start getting serious, there's no more jokes in the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Once, like, that tipping point comes, there's no more jokes.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Actually, that's a good call out. I'm glad that you remember that in the con section is another pro. That, like, it was... I think what Omar described it. Because the trailer looks like it's going to be such a serious movie, those moments of, like, just funny jokes or things that happen just catch you so off guard that you're like, oh, and they're hilarious. Sometimes we literally laughed out loud.
The whole theater was laughing.
Yeah, it was just like, wow, I just did not expect that to happen. And like in this kind of a movie that again is looking like it's like a documentary style where it's like, okay, yeah, very serious, but it's just, oh man, such good funny moments. Good call. I completely forgot about that.
But that's good. That's a good way because they're contrasting the club versus the gang.
Yeah.
How the club, everything was just like so lighthearted and it was fun.
Dig it. Well, and that's where we're gonna end the cons. It's basically with the pro. So I like it. Let's keep moving on, Mr. Rome. We got favorite performance. Omar was already teasing a little bit of it. Do you want to start, or you want me to kind of kick things off for the favorite performance?
I think we're good. I think we're gonna have the same one.
Okay, feel free. Start it.
I think the best character is Johnny.
I love it.
The Vandals. Burn it down.
we know where we're debating after we watch the movie, like how much we were going to try to use the accent of Tom Hardy.
It's not easy.
It's not easy like that. Omar told me not to do it because of how terrible I was doing it after the movie.
Because you're trying to imprise.
I was trying to improvise. I was trying to
use the movie.
Yeah, I wasn't using any dialogue from the movie, you know?
Go, this is where Brucey's talking to Johnny.
Yeah. Johnny, I think we should gotta get out of here.
No, we don't. Tom Hardy, my favorite performance.
Yeah.
Every scene he was in, I loved. I wanted him in every scene.
Yeah.
And his voice is hilarious.
Yeah.
That's what made the trailer #1 trailer of the year.
Yeah.
That accent, that voice he was playing on, but it works, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't distract you too much because then you eventually just feed into like, yeah, that's him.
Yeah, that's
him.
Johnny.
I love it.
Johnny. What about you,
Mr. Rowan? We actually have a different favorite performance. Yeah.
No way.
I actually thought Tom Hardy did an amazing job. His character again is almost like how you described Norman Reedus' character. Every time you see Johnny in the screen, you're just smiling because you're like, what is he gonna say? What is he gonna do? But to me, in my honest opinion, I thought Jodie Comer as Kathy. I thought Kathy was so good. I thought and again her accent. And I've seen her in other movies. She came out like Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, and she again, you would not expect her to when I saw this movie, I didn't expect her to have that kind of a voice. At least again, I'm not an expert in dialects and accents, but to me, it sounds like somebody from the Midwest. It sounds like legit, a great accent.
I would argue she has the best accent in the movie.
Yes.
Tom Hardy's is the funniest, but hers is the best.
And Austin Butler's is just normal.
I can't tell if he did have an accent or not.
But to me, I think she had some of the best lines like that when she had that conversation with Johnny. I love that scene. Her overall attitude, she knew what she was joining in the club. She was almost how am I going to articulate this? My favorite part about how she was as a character is that everybody was a little bit scared of Johnny, but she was not scared of Johnny at all. And when she would command the room and tell them in the club, I need to talk to Johnny alone, everybody moved away, and they knew and they respected that. Hey, she might not be a part of an actual bike rider, but she has the same respect as Benny, as Johnny. I was I love that, and it's just having that kind of power as a character. I really enjoyed it, but her accent, her mannerisms, the way that her attitude, she was never very flustered or frustrated until closer to the third act. But she was my favorite performance in the movie.
Yeah, that'd be my runner-up.
Yeah.
I was thinking between her, Tom Hardy, and Norman Reedus.
Yeah. Norman Reedus playing Funny Sonny.
I just feel like Norman Reedus didn't have enough screen time to.
He didn't, yeah.
It's like the MVP. You gotta play enough games to be the MVP.
Yeah.
You know?
He's a six man.
He's like.
Love it. Mr. O, moving into the last kind of thing that we want to decide about the movie is favorite moment. What was your favorite moment or scene? I know that you called out a couple of scenes that you really enjoyed of dialogue, of no dialogue. Oh. But what was really your favorite moment? One thing that kind of stands out to you?
My favorite moment was. Well, are we in spoiler territory?
Oh,
now?
I think we've been in spoiler territory.
Well, at the very end, when Kathy opens her door, Benny's gone.
Yeah.
But at the very end, he came back, and they set this up during the movie. She was Kathy was "Oh, my dad said that men only cry when life is the hardest, and her dad only cried when his wife died, or his mom died." And Benny, she said he came close one time, and then at the very end of the movie, Benny finally breaks down and he cries. I don't want to spoil it.
We won't spoil that part, but something happens significantly in the film.
But the way Benny cries, I felt was one of the most realistic cries I've ever seen, because it wasn't a break. For me, it was realistic because that's how I've cried in the past, because I try to hold in my tears.
And so it was a buildup of him holding it in that the whole time.
And even when he was crying, he was still trying to stop himself. Dude, I was this is the realest crying I've ever seen. And it's justifiable because that character's never cried before.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so cool, because that was my favorite scene, because that crying was probably the most realistic I've ever seen, because it wasn't just full on tears and sobbing.
It was him just breaking down like that.
Breaking down, but trying to hold it in still.
Yeah.
It was really good.
That's great call out. That's a great scene. I love that one. Mine is Johnny when he rejects the kid at the bar.
Oh yeah.
The first so again, the kid played by Toby Wallace. This is really his first true interaction with Johnny, and he goes up to him. He has the confidence, and he walks into the club, and he picks the worst day possible to ask Johnny to join the club, because this this is the moment where Johnny's right-hand man in the film, Brucey, ends up actually dying. He had a funeral. They went to it. They attended it. So this is where Johnny's basically at his low point. Mm-hmm. And they're drinking their sorrows away. And you have the kid come in with his group. And he demands Johnny, come outside, look at our bikes. We want to join this gang. And that whole interaction I thought was like amazing. Not only, but because of the performances of like Tom Hardy and the kid, but also the test that he put the kid through, where he tells him like that, okay, you know what? You're in the club, but only you. And then the kid got kind of like confused, and then he immediately changed his face. He's like, all right, let me go into the club right now and start celebrating. And immediately Johnny stops him and he goes, nah. Like no true friend will leave their other friends behind. And I was like, that was amazing. So cool. I was like, I love that he put him in a test like that. Like, and that is something that Johnny's character would do. That whole scene, you have the kid actually get Johnny to go outside, listen to him a little bit, and then just get flat out rejected. And then, he obviously tries to cut and try to kill Johnny that time. Doesn't work, but
he gets jumped.
Yep. It's just, I thought that whole scene was like amazing like that. Again, the worst day possible to ask to join the club. He could have done it a day before, a day after, let things kind of die down. But, oh man, that scene was cool.
Yeah, and then that's like one of the scenes where Tom Hardy's performance is just like incredible.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a really good scene.
Yeah. But yeah, those are our thoughts, guys. Those are our pros, our slight cons that then turn into pros. But let us know what you guys thought about the movie. Mr. Rome, I don't know about you, but to me, I would highly recommend, don't wait for it on streaming. Go check it out in theaters. It's a great movie. It's a great time. Again, there's just so much going on. There's so many characters that you can attach yourself to that somebody's going to make you laugh no matter what. No matter who's going to be. It's probably not even going to be the three main actors that are starring in this film. It could be other people. But definitely go check it out in theaters. Mr. Rome, any other kind of recommendation like that? Would you agree, I guess, on my terms of like watching it in theaters?
I agree, but it's not really a theater movie to me.
I'll agree. The theater doesn't add too much to it, but
like I would enjoy it just as much as like in my house.
Yeah,
but I think it's worth it to watch in the theater because it's a good story.
I guess mine is more like don't wait for it in streaming. Like if it's available in a local theater near you, go watch it
as soon as possible.
Exactly. Okay. Sweet. All right, guys. Well, I think this is a great time to then move into the last segment. The final segment is obviously the most important, Mr. Rome. It is. Is the Bikeriders timeless? Ooh. Is it a movie where you can see yourself watching it in the future, adding it to a rotation? Me and Omar, this year, we watched the Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings trilogy is in our timeless. It is in our rotation, similar to how maybe the Dark Knight trilogy, Jurassic Park, things of that nature. So, Mr. Rome, if you want, I'll let you as a guest, you can kick things off. Is the Bikeriders timeless?
I've been going back and forth on this, to be honest.
I'm with you as well. This has been hard.
It's been hard because the movie is really good, but is it rewatchable? That's the question. And you know how you always say potential?
Yes.
I kind of feel like saying the same thing. Potential, but I think we have to choose one.
I'll tell you this.
What?
We create the rules here.
Okay, so
this is our game.
So club. It's our club. So I'll say this. It's timeless only to nail down the Tom Hardy accent. Rewatch it over and over to really get that accent down, and you could be talking like that in real life.
I like that. I like that reason. I'm with you, Mr. Rome. This one, after we watched it, I think we watched it last Thursday, like on opening night, I think. And then that night, I was like, man, this movie, I would rewatch it again. Then I kept thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And I'm kind of in that same boat with Omar. I think it has the potential to be a timeless movie. But what I love most about it is, again, the documentary feel. It feels very realistic, and I would actually recommend people like to kind of go watch this. And like I would actually say like, oh yeah, if it's on TV, like I'll definitely watch it. But to me, it's not going to enter my timeless rotation. I think the one thing that would get me back is similar to Omar, the performances. I think the performances of Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, and Tom Hardy, that like makes me want to like rewatch those scenes and rewatch those elements. But the overall story, I think I got out of it what I needed to get out of it. And like,
yeah.
And I've said that before on other podcasts, but like sometimes it's true. Sometimes like as great as a movie can be, one time is sometimes enough. Now, are we saying that we're never going to watch it ever again? No, maybe we'll put it up again. But is it like a rotational one that you just like slot in like Inception or things of that nature where like, yeah, you just crave to watch this movie again? I don't know if I'll crave to watch it again, But this movie is excellent in my terms. But at the moment, not timeless for me. Maybe that changes if I watch it again. Like Liz hasn't seen it. I definitely would want to watch it with her. Maybe my opinions change on that side. But I made a very tough decision, and I will say that again. It has potential, but for me, not timeless.
I respect it.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. Really, what's more important is, what do you guys think about the Bikeriders? Me and Omar talked about spoilers, different types of things. We didn't spoil everything, though. There's still like the main thing that we didn't spoil, but we want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you think of the Bikeriders? Have you seen it? Let us know down below in the comments. What were your favorite moments, your favorite characters? Did you nail down that Tom Hardy accent? Let us know down below. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for those who stayed all the way through to listen to me and Omar talk about this movie. We appreciate you. Omar, always got to end it with thank you so much for coming and talking with me, man. It's always fun. I can't wait for episode 80. We got some good movies coming up in July. I am praying, guys, that ends up being Deadpool and Wolverine. That ends up being episode 80. If it's not, then it's not meant to be.
Yeah, it's not meant to be.
It's not meant to be. But if it is, I can't wait to talk that one with Omar just because we both love Marvel. But Omar, thanks so much, man. I hope you had a fun time kind of doing this podcast with us, talking about the Bikeriders. Any final words for you?
I've been thinking of like... Nah, never mind. I was going to do an accent, but nah.
Love you, man. Nah. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been episode number 75 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. We'll catch you guys on the next episode for another movie and see if we consider it timeless. All right, guys. Talk to you later.